So a couple months back, I posted a clip just kind of talking about my different kind of spiritual views and how I don't really believe in competition because I believe that we're all here to do different things and competition doesn't even make sense to me and all this stuff. And I kind of joked that maybe I should start doing Philosophy Fridays. And then I immediately forgot about the idea because I make too much content and I had other stuff going on and I just didn't do any more videos. But guess what? It's Friday. And I haven't started drinking yet because my happy hour does not start till 3. So let's do some philosophizing. Let's talk about just how I see the world. And in this case, I want to talk about purpose. I want to talk about what I believe, at least, I'm here to do and how that kind of influences how I go about creating content, doing that sort of thing. So, like, big picture. I kind of glaze over my spiritual beliefs quite a bit because, frankly, I just don't want to get into the discussion, especially with the Christians. I'm sorry, Christians, but like especially with the Christians about like all the ins and outs of it because it just never goes anywhere. But bigger picture, let me share just a few of my beliefs with you. Number 1, I believe that we are spiritual beings that make the choice to come to Earth, or maybe other places too, but Earth in this specific case, and have some sort of experience on this planet. I believe that the goal of being here is experience. It is understanding different types of experiences. Some of those experiences are going to be good. Some of those experiences are going to be bad. But if you don't ever experience the bad things in life, you can never truly appreciate and have gratitude for the good. I also believe that before we come here, when we're floating around as spiritual beings in the sky, we make decisions about the type of service that we want to do in service of not only my experience, but other people's experience in the world. And because I do fundamentally believe at the end of the day that service, giving something back to humankind, the other spiritual beings that I happen to be trapped on this planet with, like that's part of a purpose of being here, is to serve humanity in some way. Now, I have worked with more spiritual development teachers than I can even tell you guys. Like, you know, Joshua is my staple teacher. He's on teacher, not t-shirt. Teacher. He's been on this channel every Tuesday for a while, but he is absolutely one of my teachers in this lifetime. I've worked with many other shamans and just spiritual practitioners to try to understand different aspects of humanity and spirituality and that sort of thing. And what I have consistently, and it's consistent with a freakish degree of accuracy that almost every spiritual teacher, whether they knew the other teachers I was working with or not, they have told me extremely consistent things, which is that part of my role of being here in this lifetime is to express my emotions on the world stage. I'm going to say this a different way because, there's this Jordan Peterson video that was going around recently where he was talking about how your job is to tell the truth. And the truth, doesn't always make people happy, but your job is to tell the truth as you see it. I believe the same thing. I believe that when I am expressing myself emotionally on the world stage, I am fulfilling my job and I am speaking my truth. And that is the only thing that I really have to worry about. It is not my job or my responsibility to worry about other people's reactions to that truth. It is not my job at all because there could be any number of reasons why someone would have a negative reaction to me telling the truth. Maybe it makes them feel inferior. Maybe it makes them look at themselves in a different way. Maybe it makes them uncomfortable because they know it's true and they don't want to admit it. It could be any number one of those things. But to be quite frank, I just don't really care. It is not my job to worry about that. The only job I have is to express my emotions on the world stage. And that's specific to me. I am not saying that it is everyone's job out there to express their emotions on the world stage. I believe that it's some people's jobs and other people do other things. And there's no good or bad or hierarchy. Like, my purpose here isn't any better or worse than any other purpose. Neither is yours. This just happens to be mine. And I really fought this for a very long time. Oh my God, Joshua and I have gone round and round and round. Joshua can attest to this because he has been working with me since way before I was ever comfortable putting myself on video on the internet and saying what I thought. I was always like worried about what other people would think or how they would perceive me or any of these other things. And I've repeatedly said, like, I never actually really wanted to be a public person. I fought this reality so strongly. But you know what? Sorry, I got an incense burning over here. I actually have, fun fact, I actually have a throat chakra incense, which is all about your throat chakra is what you use to express yourself. So if I'm going to make a video about expressing myself, I'm going to be burning a throat chakra incense. Anyway, that's neither here nor there, but I really fought this for a long time. I was like, no. I don't want to express my emotions on the world stage. And this is also why every time someone leaves a comment saying, Carlin, you are being too emotional in this video, I'm like, well, then I achieved my purpose. Then I did my job. If you are seeing my emotions, then I did my job. And I believe that the reason that I'm supposed to express my emotions on the world stage is that other people see it, and some of those people are inspired to do something similar, or they're inspired to fight back in different ways. And so it's a service to them to see someone else doing it, regardless of whether or not it's the most comfortable thing in the world for me to do, right? That's the service, is inspiring others, maybe to look at the world differently, maybe to acknowledge a truth, maybe to see someone expressing their emotions kind of unapologetically and saying, you know what, if she can do it, I can do it too, which is true. By the way, anyone can do what I do. Anyone. You can do what I do. If you want to, you can do what I do. I promise you. But anyway, I fought this for a really long time. I pushed back on it like you have no idea. Like with every fiber of my being, I was like, no. I had very strong resistance to this being a reality where I would consistently show up and express myself emotionally on the world stage. I mean, and this was like years of fighting with Joshua over this, where he would try to get me to do something. I'd be like, no. And then I just wouldn't do it. And then, we would make progress and then go back, make progress, go back. And then this thing happened to me because I believe that when you are supposed to do something, when you are off your path, life has a way of booting you right onto the path that you were supposed to have. And so this thing happened to me a year and a half ago, where I wrote about being a Democrat at a Trump rally, put the article up on Medium, not thinking anyone would ever really read it or care about anything that I had to say, because I don't have a platform in politics. Why would anyone care what I have to say about it? And all of a sudden, a lot of people did. And all of a sudden, I had people coming on to my platform to listen to what I had to say. And some of those people agreed with it, and some of those people disagreed with it. But it was like, for me, that was like life and the universe saying, you're doing this whether you like it or not. And at some point, I made the decision to relax into it as much as I could. Now, that's not to say that it's always the most fun thing in the world for me to do. It is not always the most fun thing in the world for me to do. I still am very uncomfortable being on camera. I'm very uncomfortable having my picture taken. I'm very uncomfortable sometimes putting my thoughts out there, but I suck it up and I do it anyway. And you want to know why? Because once I started relaxing and leaning into it and just saying, all right, this is what the universe wants of me. And if I believe strongly in my spiritual beliefs, which I do, if I have faith that what I believe is real, then at some point you need to stop fighting it and you need to start giving into it. And so I started leaning into it and I started just saying what I thought. And I spent basically the first year of doing this just like throwing stuff at the wall and just what I wanted to gain was experience. Because remember, I said at the beginning of this that I believe that life is about experience and it's about understanding what you like and what you don't. And so I just started throwing stuff out there and seeing what felt good to me and seeing what didn't feel good to me. And I did a lot of stuff that today, like I wouldn't do like a reaction video to Vosh again. Like, absolutely not. That guy and his audience are toxic, but I only learned that based on having that experience, right? I only learned that by doing that. And I don't think I would have understood it in the same way had I not done that. So you throw a lot of stuff at the wall. At least this is how I approached it. Threw a lot of stuff out there, see what stuck, see what made me feel good and what made me feel not so good. Because here's how I tend to gauge whether or not I'm on the right track. Do I feel good? Do I feel good in my body? Do I feel like I have life? And the answer is that right now, following this path, even though it makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable, I feel like I have more life in me than any other time in my life. Is it all roses and unicorns? No. No. Because sometimes when you express your emotions on the world stage, you have crazy people saying you're a narcissistic psychopath on the internet. Like, it's just the way it goes. But here's the thing too. It's like, I look at people that do stuff like this, people that the intellectuals who are intellectualizing and fighting back against people like me and James Lindsay and definitely putting up a fuss with all this stuff. And I say, listen, you are simply an obstacle that I need to get over in this lifetime. You're put here to teach me something. Maybe this is a reflection. This is like, because I believe we attract everything that we're supposed to, both good and bad, based on our actions and our behaviors and our perspectives and our mindset. I believe that our mind is the most powerful tool we have. And sometimes when we're not over certain issues like feelings of inadequacy or things like that, we're going to attract people that are going to try to reinforce those feelings of inadequacy. And the goal is not necessarily to go after the person making you feel inadequate. The goal is to do the inner work on yourself. So you're like, she can run her mouth on the internet all she wants. I don't really care. I don't really care. Now, that's not to say that there aren't times when stuff like this has bothered me. To be really honest with you, when this whole thing first started, it bothered me a lot. It really bothered me a lot. And not just necessarily this thing, but like, sometimes like I've heard from people that I respected or used to respect that would do stuff like this. And I would really take it personally. There were times when, especially since the election, between the election and now, I have probably spent more time being depressed about nonsense like this than I have actually doing what I want to do. And you know what? I had to have a stern talk with myself to say, Carlin, if your spiritual purpose that you decided on before you got here is to come and express your emotions on the world stage, then why would you allow some bitch on the internet to disrupt what your spiritual purpose is? If you actually believe that's true, then why on earth would you allow some crazy person on the internet to make you feel as though you don't have an obligation to fulfill your spiritual purpose? I get messages from people all the time saying that I inspire them, and it makes me blush, and sometimes they write such beautiful notes and it makes me cry. And like, those are the people that are my audience. That's why I don't really believe in competition, right? Because I believe that the right people will find you. The right people that are supposed to have your message will find you. And it doesn't really matter if I get invited on the biggest shows or if I have a platform or if I don't. Because remember, I had no platform when all this started, and all of a sudden 3 million people knew who I was in an instant that had no idea who I was before. So I do believe that when we are on our purpose and we're doing what we should be doing, these things just come. The right people come. And the right people, like the people that come in initially, they may not be the right person, a year and a half from now. Not all relationships are meant to last forever, but maybe I inspire someone one time and they go off for the rest of their life and they never even think about me again, but they think about the way that I inspired them and they show up differently. Or I have a whole community of people that I have an ongoing relationship with that I see. My Locals is the most beautiful thing in the world because I see people that a year ago, when I first started we do Zoom calls twice a week in My Locals community where we just talk with each other. And I remember a year ago when I first started doing these calls, like the difference between the community a year ago and now in terms of people showing up and expressing themselves and having life. I see so much more life in the people that are in My Locals that have been there for the long haul than I did a year ago. You want to know why? Because they're showing up and they're expressing themselves because they have a place to do it. And that's translating into how they show up in the real world. And that's a very real impact that I was able to have. Now, they did all the hard work. I'm not going to front like I did the hard work, but that was an impact that I was able to have. I think that it's so important to figure out what your purpose is in life and what you want to contribute. And, we're human beings, and so we're not always perfect at following our purpose. We're not always perfect at doing things the right way. We're not always like, human beings have free will at the end of the day, regardless of whatever spiritual purpose you pick out in the world. You have free will as a human being. You can choose to follow your path or not. But I fundamentally believe that life is a lot more painful when we don't follow our spiritual path, the thing that we chose before we were ever born. And I know for me, my life has completely changed in the last year and a half. I feel 15 years younger than I did before. I feel like I have life and spirit and am connected with God in a way that I haven't experienced in my entire life. And when stuff like this happens, it's just another sign that I still have some nonsense to work out. I still have some feelings of inadequacy to work out. I know you guys think I'm like the most confident person ever, but believe me, if I was actually a narcissist, I'd be a really crappy narcissist. I doubt myself all the time. And there's still stuff I gotta work out because I'm a human being and I'm flawed. But you gotta take opportunities as just signs of like, don't take it personally. You know? Stuff like this is not about that particular relationship. It's about what's going on inside my head. And so if I can look at something like this and say like, oh, that's a sign. It's a sign from the universe that that's something I need to work on in order to be able to show up and serve in the best way I can. Well, then I got to work on it. It's all good. Maybe this video is even working on it. Hi, Carrie. See you at PorcFest.